So we have seen programs in which we used the default mode, that is the text mode, for reading and writing the files. And now in this program and the next program, we will see how to read and write the data in binary mode. Okay, so there are basically two modes, the text mode and the binary mode. So the binary mode treats every value just as a bit. Okay, so for example, we have the integer data int I is equal to 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so when we use the text mode, then every integer which I have written here, every digit 1 2 3 4 5, it will be treated as a character, and this data will be stored onto the file in the form of characters, that is the ASCII value of 1, then ASCII value of 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, so how many bytes then it will occupy? It will occupy 5 bytes. If we assume that one character occupies 1 byte, then there are 5 characters here and it will occupy 5 bytes. But otherwise, if we store it in the binary format, then it will be treated not as a string of ASCII characters, but rather as an integer data type, and in that case it will occupy only 4 bytes. Okay, so similar example is with the double. Okay, so if we have 1 2 3 4 5 dot like this. Okay, or we can say 1 2 e minus 1 2 3, something like this. Then because it is double data type, and if we assume that it occupies 8 bytes, then in the binary mode, then 8 bytes will be consumed by this variable d. And instead, if we use the text mode, then how many characters are there? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, so it will store 9 ASCII characters. Okay, so if we want to treat the data in the binary format just as a stream of bits, then instead of using the text mode, we can use the binary mode. Okay, so in this program, we will use the binary mode, and to read and write the data using the binary mode, we use the functions read and write. Okay, so earlier we have seen how to use the extraction operator and the insertion operator. We have seen getLine function, we have seen put and get functions. Now we will see the read and write modes, read and write functions. Okay, and uh, before writing the main function, let us declare a constant here. Const int max is equal to suppose 10 here, and here we create an integer buffer of size equal to max. Okay, and here let us open a file. First of all, let us populate this buffer. Okay, put some data into this buffer. For int j equal to 0, j less than max, j plus plus, buffer at j is equal to j. Okay, so we have placed some values into this buffer, and all these values are integer values. Now we want to write this buffer into a file, so output file string of, let us write the name of the file, test4.dat, and by default the mode is text mode, but if we want to use the binary mode, we have to explicitly write binary here. Okay, so iOS binary, it means we have opened this file in the binary mode. Okay, and now we want to write this data onto the file. Okay, and as I told you, this is done using the function write. So the name of the object dot write, and here it will need the buffer which we want to write, and then it also needs another argument, that is the maximum size of the buffer. And because this buffer is of type integer, then how many bytes will it occupy in total? It will occupy max multiplied by size of an integer. Okay, so write function takes two arguments, the data which you want to write and the size of that data. Here the size of that data is number of elements multiplied by size of each element. Here the number of elements are max and the size of each element is equal to size of the data type integer. Okay, so in this way we write the data using the output stream, and then we close this output stream os.close. Okay, and now we want to read that data. So for that we will use the input file stream, and we will read that data into the same buffer. Okay, so before reading, let us clear this buffer. So let us write for int j equal to 0, j less than max, j plus plus, buffer j is equal to 0. So we have set each element of this buffer to 0. Okay, now let us open the input file stream if stream if1, and we want to open the same file test4.date, then iOS binary. Okay, so now we want to read this data. For that we will use input file stream dot read function, and here again we need the buffer into which we will read the data and the size of the buffer, that is maximum into size of int. Okay, so we have read the data now, and let us print that data for int j equal to 0, j less than max, j plus plus, cout buffer j. Okay, and then we close the input file stream if1 dot close, and at the end return 0. Okay, so let us run it. So there is an error in the line where we use the write function. It is saying no matching function for call to standard basic output file stream write. Okay, so I think we need to cast this buffer to a character pointer, and explicitly we have to use the re-enter cast. let us put this into parenthesis. Okay, OS was not declared in this scope. Okay, it is not OS, it is OF. Okay, let's run it. Again, there is a problem. Reinterpret cast. Capstar. So it is now working fine, and here it is giving us the output 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The values which we put into the buffer using this loop, they were written onto the file using this statement, using the write function. So then after that we closed the output file stream, and we uh, erased all the data which was there in buffer, and then again we opened the file, same file in binary format, and read all the data which was there in the file into this buffer, and then we saw what were the contents of the buffer after reading from the file using this for loop, and it is giving us this output. So this is what data we stored in the buffer we are getting again as the output. So this program is working fine. And another thing to note here is that I used reinterpret cast. Reinterpret cast means it tells the compiler to interpret this buffer as a char star. Okay, although this buffer is a integer buffer, but this write function expects a character buffer. Okay, so therefore we use a reinterpret cast so that it can be reinterpreted as a character buffer. And why it needs a character buffer? Because we are opening this in binary mode, so here all the data will be written as bytes, and a byte is represented here using a character. Okay, so this is how we can read and write data using this write and read functions.